Namaste, and thank you for joining me once again. This week, we're talking about the Purusharthas, the four goals of life. In Vedic spiritual traditions, whether we're talking Ayurveda or yoga, Jyotish or Tantra, the Purusharthas serve as a compass to guide us, guide the individual, and guide society towards a balanced and fulfilling existence. These concepts that are rooted in Vedic philosophy provide a worldview for us to understand how to live while we're in a material form. The Purusharthas encompass four foundational principles that provide an ethical and purposeful framework for living while fostering harmony in ourself and society. These four goals of life are called Dharma, Arta, Kama, and Moksha. Dharma is considered to be the way, the path, the purpose. Arta is wealth, both on a material level and on a spiritual level. Kama are our desires, and moksha is translated as liberation. It's the desire to know the self. Ayurveda emphasizes the use of these in a holistic way by addressing the interconnected dimensions of our human experience, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and spiritual. It really recognizes that true well-being only arises when all the aspects of our life are in equilibrium. The Purusharthas and Ayurveda share the common understanding of balance and harmony, making their integration a profound tool for achieving optimum health and a long, healthy, vital life that's rooted in spiritual values or our spiritual evolution. Today, we're going to explore the intricate relationship between the Purusharthas, Ayurveda. We'll look at it a little bit from the yogic and tantric and Vedic astrology point of view as well. And we're going to look at how these principles complement each other in guiding our lives towards a purpose with health and to know the self. A lot of traditions say that, or maybe religions, I shouldn't say traditions. The tradition is this. The religions want to say that we should focus only on our liberation, only on moksha, and not pay attention to our desires or wealth. But Ayurveda, yoga, Jyotish, Tantra, the Vedic philosophies teach us that all four are absolutely necessary and they all need to be in balance. Looking at the word Purushartha itself, it comes from two Sanskrit roots. Purusha, which is the self, it's our soul, and Artha, which means purpose or aim, or the wealth of the soul, the wealth of the self. So together, it signifies the purpose of our human existence. And on one major level, the Purusharthas are the four goals that direct and motivate all human action. And when we understand them, they help us to achieve and fulfill all of dimensions of life. Each one of these Purusharthas represents a distinct dimension of essentially all human aspiration. And while they are interdependent and form a cohesive framework that is there to balance the material and spiritual pursuits, each one has its own unique ways of manifesting in our lives. But this balance is the crux of Ayurveda to maintain harmony. Ayurveda wants us to maintain the harmony between the body, the mind, and consciousness. That's what ensures a healthy life and longevity and happiness in life. Ultimately, the Vedas state that who we are is Sat Chidananda, pure bliss consciousness. That consciousness comes when all the ideas, projections, concepts, limitations fall away and we're in a pure witness state. In order to do that, we need to have the material world taken care of to a major extent. Let's dive into what Dharma is. Dharma translates to righteousness and duty for the most part. It is the guiding principle of life. It's the guiding principle of righteous living that aligns closely, very closely, completely with Ayurveda's emphasis of harmony and balance. Ayurveda teaches us to live in accordance with our prakriti, our nature, our constitution, and to honor and respect and love natural laws, the laws that nature provides for us. When we cultivate physical health, and that leads us to mental clarity, we will have sattvic nature, we'll have a pure nature, and that leads to ethical behavior and ethical living. And then Ayurveda empowers us to fulfill our Dharma, our purpose in life, our Swadharma, the self's individual purpose. Following a balanced diet like Ayurveda recommends, following regular daily and seasonal routines like Ayurveda recommends, and engaging in mindfulness practice cultivate the discipline and focus it requires to uphold our Dharma in the material world. What Dharma really refers to is living in alignment with universal and individual laws. And it involves adhering to our own unique gifts, our own unique purpose, our duties. A doctor has the duty to his patient, to his staff. He's also maybe a father, and he has a duty to his children. He's a husband. He has a duty to his wife. He goes to church. He has a duty to his congregation. Things like this. We all have different relationships. So understanding what our Dharma is in each relationship is really important. Dharma functions as the moral foundation that sustains society and uplifts the individual. It encourages us to do virtuous behaviors and to create relationships that are in harmony, that are in alignment with a true purpose of life, and that we are spreading the light of love everywhere. We're filling our hearts with love and expressing it in everything we do. My personal understanding is the highest state of God consciousness, of human consciousness, of consciousness itself, is unconditional love. And when we follow Dharma, it's much easier to dwell in that place of love as often as possible. The relevance to this is that we've actually separated ourselves from nature. And the only reason that we're not in balance is because of separation of self. We've believed that we were limited and individuated. And we are. We're here. I'm speaking, you're listening. And that's true. And behind that, there's a unified field of cosmic intelligence governing everything. Dharma is our sacred duty as self-expression. In Tantra, Dharma is not just the societal duties. It's the unique soul expression, the Swadharma. It's our embodied truth in action. And what that means is we live authentically in harmony with our inner nature, the Swabhava, our inner nature, who we are. That's love. Our inner nature is love. Our inner nature is consciousness. Tantra gives these rituals. Vedic philosophy gives rituals that are vehicles for awakening. And when we do these rituals in our personal lives, in our relationships, we awaken much quicker. And we recognize that our life, our body, and all the relationships are nothing more than instruments to the divine. Tantra often refines Dharma to mean living with intentionality, living with presence, and living with sacredness, seeing the divine in even the most mundane of acts. When we are established in Dharma, then we can expand the next Purushartha, which is Artha itself. Arta means wealth, and this doesn't just mean material wealth. It means spiritual wealth. Spiritual wealth involves having love in our heart, having compassion in our heart, having a community, a sangha of people that we love and care for, and we're doing acts of service in the world from a place of no expectation, from a place of true, authentic love. Ayurveda recognizes that physical and mental well-being are essential for pursuing Artha. Without health, the capacity to work, to earn, to sustain material wealth kind of diminishes if we're having sick days all the time. Likewise, it's very difficult to focus on our spiritual wealth, on expanding our love and consciousness when our body is in pain, when it's not well. All of our attention is going on making the body well. Ayurveda offers these practices, proper diet, exercise, detoxification practices, all these things that enhance our vitality and productivity, which support the acquisition of Artha on a material and spiritual level. Ayurveda recommends having nourishing meals as per our constitution. In the modern day, in order to get healthy, nourishing food, we need to have already some level of Artha. We need to have some material prosperity because as it is right now, organic food tends to cost more than non-organic food, which is actually insane because organic food costs less to produce. But nonetheless, we need food that actually has nutrients and vitality in it in order to boost our energy levels, in order to keep our bodies dis-ease-free. These foods that have nutrients actually enhance our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual stamina and focus. Ayurveda really emphasizes the importance in balancing the material pursuits with our spiritual growth, our spiritual pursuits. And that is the balance between the material and spiritual wealth. When we have excess attachment to our wealth, that's the first stage of imbalance. It creates stress. And that can actually, excess attachment to our wealth or anything can lead to insecurities. Ayurveda principles encourage moderation and mindfulness in everything and ethical practices in our pursuit of prosperity. If I've seen it myself, I've been in Mumbai in India, and next to these multi-million-dollar houses and skyscrapers are the poorest of the poor on the street, and these people in these beautiful suits walk out, and the people there are starving. They don't give a rupee, they don't give any food or anything. That's the imbalance. There's nothing wrong with wealth. Ayurveda, yoga, Jyotish, Vedic philosophy says we should be wealthy. We should all be wealthy. And we're only truly all wealthy when we're all wealthy. Otherwise, we're all living in poverty, a spiritual poverty, a lack of love, a lack of compassion, a lack of empathy. That's spiritual poverty. Then there's no arta in society. Arta really is the acquisition and management of these resources for living, first and foremost, a secure and comfortable life, but sharing those resources with society, not seeing society, not seeing the people as separate from ourselves. It's a shared experience here on the planet. Ultimately, we came here with nothing. We're leaving with nothing. We cannot take anything with us. The material world is available to us to use while we're here, but we have to do it in a way that's dharmic. Arta is there to provide the means for us to fulfill our dharma, to fulfill our duty, to support our loved ones, and then to pursue higher spiritual goals. Ayurveda recognizes the importance of these resources. We have to be able to have resources to access healthcare, to access proper nutrition, to access wellness practices, to be able to go do panchakarma, do these deep, profound cleansing practices. In the modern world, it's quite expensive. It's necessary that we have this. We just need to have a balance of it. We need to transform our understanding of wealth as a sacred resource, seeing material resources, money, home, health, sensual pleasure as Shakti, as the creative power of the universe that supports a fuller expression of our life and spiritual growth. Ultimately, Arta becomes an extension of Dharma, fueling the means to serve and embody our purpose. Wealth is not for hoarding. It's an offering, it's an honoring, it's an uplifting. In India, in the Vedic tradition, we have the goddess Lakshmi or Bhuvaneshwari. They're the goddess of wealth and beauty. They're invoked to support right livelihood, beauty, abundance that nourishes the soul. When we align Arta and the pursuit of Arta with Dharma, our life goes so much better. We're at a greater peace, a greater sense of ease, a greater sense of belonging and oneness, which then leads us into kama. Kama is desire and enjoyment. How can we truly enjoy anything if our neighbor is suffering, if there's a person on the street right outside your house suffering? It's hard to really enjoy anything when they're suffering. It doesn't mean all suffering has to end before we can enjoy. On another level, kama does mean desires and the pursuit of desire. There are also a lot of traditions, even in India, that say desire is wrong, that we should give up all desires. That even Buddha said we should be desireless. Less desire, desire less. And the desire itself doesn't actually cause suffering or pain. It's the attachment to fulfilling the desire that causes the suffering and the pain. That the thought that we can't be happy, we can't be fulfilled if we don't have that thing outside ourselves. That's the suffering. The suffering began when we thought that we needed something outside of ourselves to be happy to begin with. But desire itself is not wrong. It is natural to Prakriti. The Shankya philosophy says that we should seek to witness our desire without being attached to it, or that it doesn't have a grip or a hold on us. Baba Ramdas, near the end of his life, I think I've said this before. If you've listened to other podcasts, you've probably heard me say this. Someone asked him, the samskaras or the vasanas, the latent tendencies, the desires. You've done so much meditation, 6-7 decades of meditation. You've hung out with so many saints. You've had so much darshan. You've taken so many psychedelics. How long did it take you for the desires to go away, the vasanas to go away? And he just laughed. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. None of them have gone away. They're all still there. The only difference, my spiritual practice and the grace of my guru has given me a really clear screen, a really clear caller ID. So when they call, I just don't pick up the phone. Or I can choose mindfully which phone calls I pick up and engage in. So the desire itself is not wrong. It's the unhealthy attachment to fulfilling them and going about fulfilling them from a dharmic means, meaning not in alignment with Dharma. What kama really encompasses is the pursuit of pleasure and emotional satisfaction. There's nothing wrong with that. Ayurveda offers guidance on how to enjoy life's pleasure in a balanced way. First is having a healthy body, a balanced diet, nurturing relationships, exercise routine like yoga and tai chi, qigong, swimming, whatever, meditation to help channel our desires in a successful and constructive and positive way that's in alignment with Dharma. One of the key components in Ayurveda for good health is digestion, balanced digestion. That's, again, it's not just of physical nutrients. It's a major part of it, but it's not that. It's digesting our life experience. It's digesting our sensory organs in a way that doesn't lead to overindulgence, and we constructively convert those sensory experiences into spiritual nutrients that uplift us and make us, our hearts open, our hearts blossom, the lotus rise in the morning sunlight. So yeah, kama is the representation of the pursuit of pleasure, including the sensual enjoyment, emotional satisfaction, and spiritual upliftment. When pursued mindfully, it really enhances life's richness and joy. It motivates our creativity. It motivates our relationships. It motivates art and music and poetry and dance. This is all from the realm of kama. It's essential for emotional health. But like anything, it's not just kama. Anything in excess is not really going to create equilibrium in the physical, mental, emotional body. We need to do these practices. We need to do anything that cultivates a heart-centered relationship to our sense organs. Ayurveda really addresses our emotions and sensory through the sense organs, which is very tantric, through aromatherapy, through smells, through abhyanga, the oil massage, using different herbs to balance the body, mind, and emotions, using sound therapy, different frequencies, different musical instruments, different ragas. All of these elevate our sensory experience and enhance the capacity to experience joy at the same time as maintaining equilibrium and leading to a spiritual expansion. So Tantra is really this deeply integrated and life-affirming relationship with the Purusharthas. And I know some of these more aesthetic paths reject worldly life in favor of transcendence. Ayurveda, Tantra, Jyotish, it embraces the world as sacred, and it recognizes that spiritual realization happens in life, not despite life. It happens in and through the body, in an embodied, awakened life, not in spite of it. So kama can be a gateway to the divine. Anytime a desire is suppressed, I mean, even in Ayurveda, it says don't suppress natural urges, the urge to sneeze, cough, yawn, fart, ejaculate. Suppressing natural urges actually creates dis-ease in the body. It creates tension and blocks the channels. Tantric practices teach us how to transmute and refine the sense organs in a divine loving way, where there's a yearning of Shakti to unite with Shiva. Again, Shakti is the manifested consciousness and Shiva is the undifferentiated pure awareness. Pleasure, rasa, is sacred. Sexuality, beauty, art, music, touch, all can become means to expand our consciousness. Even Maituna, which the Tantras declare as sexual union, becomes a spiritual ceremony, a ritual of awakening, not for just mere gratification. Sex without love is empty. That depletes us more than anything. It doesn't just deplete the physical body, it depletes the soul. But when done with love in devotional worship and not pursued recklessly, it is reverent, it is mindful, and is an energetic awareness that helps us to awaken. It has to happen in ourselves first. Then it can be with others. But ultimately, the kama is a beautiful thing that motivates all of life. From there, when we're in balance with the first three, Dharma, Artha, and Kama, we seek moksha. We seek liberation and spiritual freedom. But what is it that we're trying to seek freedom from? On the Vedic perspective, from a non-dual perspective, we're already that. Om Tat Sat. Aham Brahmasmi. I am one with that. I am that supreme consciousness. What are we trying to get free from then? What is all this striving and seeking for when we're already that? We're trying to free ourselves from the mental slavery that tells us that we're not free already, that tells us that we're limited beings stuck in the time-space continuum. We're trying to free ourselves from the limited concepts and projections of the past or the future. Ayurveda gives us excellent tools for this type of spiritual growth by promoting the sattvic quality in the body and the mind. If there's an overload of toxins physically, it's hard for the mind to get clear enough to free itself. Ayurveda offers the detoxification process of panchakarma. Pranayama breathwork cleanses the subtle channels so the mind can see clearly. Likewise, so does meditation. All these things facilitate a spiritual awakening by removing physical, mental, emotional toxins and bring the doshas into balance and bring our desire to achieve success in the four goals of life into our awareness, into our field. In order to have the awareness that we need to have more awareness, we need to be aware that we're not aware. It's very fascinating how this works. But through self-awareness, we can transcend the attachment we have to who we think we are. We can transcend the attachment we have to our material things. That doesn't mean you give everything away and go live in a cave somewhere. That means you're just not attached to it. If it breaks, okay, that's the nature of the world, like the leaves changing color and falling off the trees in the fall season. That's the nature. Everything changes. If we're attached to our concept of ourselves, if we're attached to the stuff we have, if we're attached to our name and what we've done or who people think we are, that paves the way for suffering. But when we can live with these things, we can live in the material world without this deep-rooted attachment, it paves the way for self-knowledge. It teaches us the importance of aligning with our true nature, that swadharma. That's when inner peace happens. That's when the spiritual realization happens, that we're not this body, we're not our name, we're not our hair color, we're not our address, we're not the stuff we have. But to do this, we have to have a regular practice because we live in a world where what we know is true is not being reflected in the masses. It's not being reflected in the evening news. How often on the evening news do you hear the news anchor saying, oh, by the way, everyone, yeah, we had an earthquake today and you're the supreme self and you're unlimited, unconditional love and everyone should go outside tomorrow and help the people from the earthquake. That doesn't happen. So we have to do the work within. Our journey towards enlightenment, towards moksha, towards the freedom that we seek is an inward journey. The external world is not going to do it for us. The journey itself is what propels the journey. Like I was saying, the awareness of the need for more awareness is what cultivates more awareness. And that begins with being aware that we're unaware. Moksha represents the transcendence of our bondage to the material world. It doesn't mean we renounce the material world. It's the opposite. We completely engage with it as an expression of love and devotion and as the creation being directly from the Creator. That supreme intelligence wanted to experience itself through all of us. And when we do that with love and we understand our unique purpose here, we're fulfilling the Creator's wishes. And what does that leave us here? It leaves us with mental clarity. It leaves us with physical vitality. It leaves us with inner peace. So liberation, this concept of moksha, it's not by escaping from the world. It's within the world. It's through embodiment. Moksha means realizing our true nature as both Shiva and Shakti, as consciousness itself and the life energy that's materialized. But as the Tao says, we can only talk about this to an extent because the Tao says the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. Consciousness, we call it Shiva. But that's a human construct. It's beyond that. It's beyond any words. It's beyond name. It's beyond form. And that's ultimately who we are. And understanding that comes from integration, being fully alive, being fully aware, being fully participant in your life. Then we're free. Enlightenment is possible in this body, in this life. It kind of is in contrast to many philosophers saying that this world is an illusion and it's just Maya. The other view is the world is a sacred play of the divine. It is Maya. Maya when it translates to that which is not permanent. Anything in time and space is not permanent. Everything is changing. So understanding this is really the purpose of the Purusharthas. Again, they're not isolated goals, but interwoven dimensions of a meaningful life. It represents the culmination of a life in balance. And truly, Ayurveda plays such a pivotal role in achieving these goals, because when we follow an Ayurvedic lifestyle, the Ayurvedic path, which is the knowledge of life, remember, it's the wisdom of life, it ensures a healthy and harmonious physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual body, so we have the strength to fulfill our purpose and pursue our spiritual goals. And I get it, it's difficult. In the fast-paced world, these principles may seem unmanageable, but they're not. If we follow them, it actually provides us this timeless wisdom for managing stress and achieving a work-life, play, love balance and fostering holistic well-being. Ayurveda's stress management techniques, yoga's stress management techniques mitigate the effects of the modern lifestyle. If we can just practice a few of these. When we combine Ayurveda with modern practices like compassionate inquiry, somatic experiencing, modern transcendental transpersonal psychology methods, nutrition, life coaching, all these things, they're an integrative approach that ensures that these ancient wisdoms can be adapted to meet our contemporary needs. Ayurveda actually has outlined how we can incorporate each of these Purusharthas, these four goals of life, for the doshas. It's fantastic. Remember, Ayurveda considers health as a dynamic equilibrium: physical health for the proper functioning of the bodily systems, mental health for the emotional balance and clarity, and spiritual health to align with higher consciousness. And the practices that Ayurveda gives us, we've talked about in many other podcasts, but dinacharya, our daily routine, ritucharya, the seasonal routine, diet, lifestyle, cleansing and rejuvenation therapy, yoga, meditation. But Ayurveda breaks it down even further into doshas and how we can really identify what we can do on an individual level. Let's take a look at that. So again, Dharma is the framework for living in harmony, and it's a framework for living in harmony with one's natural prakriti, the natural constitution of our body, and the universal law of nature that we're in. And when we can do our dharma, not do someone else's dharma, a kapha type should not try to be a vata type. A vata type should not try and be a kapha type. So we can look at the dharma, arta, kama, and moksha of each of the doshas. So dharma for a vata type, remember, vata dominant individuals tend to be super creative, and they're spontaneous and they're quick thinking. And then their struggles come from consistency and being overwhelmed or anxious when faced with too many responsibilities. So Ayurveda's wisdom would give a vata stable routines. It would really encourage the vata to do the dinacharya, those daily practices, especially grounding ones. Eating at the same time, having a regular schedule, having warm and nourishing foods, and doing calming, nourishing practices like warm oil massage. And this will counteract the tendency for this restlessness. And these practices help vata fulfill their dharma by fostering reliability, by fostering a focused, attentive awareness in loving devotion, first and foremost to the body and then to their heart and consciousness, enabling them to contribute their innovative and visionary qualities in an effective way. If we look at the dharma of a pitta type, it looks much different than dharma of a vata type. A pitta dominant individual is a natural leader with a strong sense of purpose, but they can be overly competitive. They can be really critical. They can be aggressive. If they're a boss, they treat the employees maybe less than with kindness. This is what happens when the dharma is not aligned for them, when they're overly stressed as well. Ayurveda's wisdom would suggest practices for the fiery pitta nature that cools them down, doing cooling types of pranayama, having gentle meditation practices, having cooling diets, maybe drinking some coconut water with mint in it, and really spending a lot of time in nature. That's one of Pitta's greatest tools for healing, is just quiet time in nature. And these strategies help Pitta to channel their energy and their drive and their ambition towards really constructive pursuits. And it'll allow them to maintain humbleness, a humility, while cultivating compassion, so that they can align their actions with their dharma. And then if we look at the kapha dosha, what dharma looks like for them, kaphas are very nurturing and they're very steady. But if the kapha is out of balance, they become super attached. They become clingy. They resist change, and even they become lethargic. And that lethargy hinders their ability to fulfill their dharma, to fulfill their responsibilities, their basic duties. Especially if we look at obesity or severe obesity, things like this, it's a complete stagnation. Ayurveda's wisdom would recommend the kapha have stimulating activities, to wake up before the sunshine, to eat a lighter diet, to eat a diet filled with spicy foods to enkindle the agni, and having a personal trainer, having an accountability friend to come over at 5 a.m., wake them up, go for a hike, go to early morning yoga class, things like this. Any invigorating physical activity or diet style, or even mental activities to counteract the tendency for inertia. And when the kapha adopts these types of practices, they stay active and they stay motivated and they fulfill their dharma. They're caregivers. They stabilize the family and the community. There's a saying, slow and steady wins the race. It's just that kapha needs to stay slow, not and needs to stay steady. When the dharma of the three doshas is imbalanced, this leads to that arta, that pursuit of material and spiritual wealth. And it is essential for basic living in the material world. We must secure the resources we need to live a healthy and fulfilled lifestyle. So that's physically and mentally. If we're constantly in a state of survival where we don't know when the next paycheck is coming, it's very hard to stay at peace. It's very hard to have enough money to buy some organic sesame oil to do your oil massage on a daily basis. What Ayurveda recommends for each dosha in this category is a balance in productivity and resourcefulness. So for a vata, where vata, again, the vata type will struggle with consistency, and I think more than anyone faces the most financial instability, maybe due to impulsive decision making or a lack of proper planning, going in debt on the credit card, things like this. Ayurveda's there to support the pursuit of arta for a vata, again, by the grounding practices, having the warm, nutrient-dense food, going to a financial planner to build that stability, and having a coach, having a life coach, having a yoga teacher, having an Ayurvedic practitioner, having a friend to help them maintain focus and discipline that will enable them to achieve sustainable success and really avoiding burnout. Because also vata goes towards anxiety, and when the engine is overheated through too much work, too much stress, it just collapses. For a pitta, really pitta types excel in achieving material goals, but also tend to overwork themselves and prioritize success at the expense of their health and their happiness and their relationships. Ayurveda's guidance here is same. It's giving cooling diets. More than anything, it's giving stress management techniques, time for relaxation, time for yoga, time for nature, anything to prevent burnout, getting massage, taking a swim in the ocean or a waterfall, something that cools the pitta's mind down. And then the pitta can channel their energy constructively, balancing work and play. The pursuit of wealth also should be the pursuit of happiness. I mean, ultimately, happiness shouldn't be something pursued. It's our nature. When all else falls away, anything that's not serving falls away, then we can truly dwell in happiness. For the kapha types, they're actually really good at accumulating, but they become overly attached to the material possessions and often resist necessary change. They have TV shows now about hoarding. These, I would imagine, I've never actually seen one. I've just heard about them, but I would imagine most of the people who are in these shows are probably kaphagenic in nature. Maybe they're vatas that are actually trying to balance out, but they've gone over the edge on the other way. For a kapha, Ayurveda, again, recommends activity that encourages them to stay active and be adaptable in their financial pursuits. I think for a kapha, giving to charity, taking that money and donating to a worthwhile cause, or even going out and buying some food and going to the homeless shelter and helping prepare the food and serve the food. That would be a great activity to balance kapha in the arta field. But really it becomes, for a kapha, it's about overcoming the inertia. And kapha types can achieve the financial success and stability and maintain a healthy detachment. They just need a little motivation. They need a friend to help them. As far as kama and the pursuit of desires go, the sensual pleasure, the emotional fulfillment, the aesthetic enjoyment, really it's about balance. and moderation in all three doshas. For Vata, again, with their heightened creativity and their curiosity in their pursuit for kama, they're very, very prone to overindulgence and inconsistency, which will lead, number one, to exhaustion, but two, dissatisfaction. And then that's when addiction happens. When there's dissatisfaction in the external thing that's been giving us happiness, we start seeking the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Ultimately, desires are never ending, especially whether they're fulfilled or unfulfilled, they're essentially never ending. We have to have a healthy relationship and understanding with them. Again, for a Vata type, grounding activities, consistent self-care routines, and nourishing diets to stabilize Vata's fluctuating energy and emotions. And then these practices really allow the Vata to experience pleasure and creativity at a sustainable level without the depletion of mental or physical energy. And then they're so creative, they're so inspired, and they share that with others. For a Pitta, again, the Pitta is super passionate and super intense in pursuit of their desires, and their fiery nature often leads to impatience and conflict. So we want to balance the Pitta with more mindfulness practices, with cooling therapies, and really encouraging moderation. That's essential. And when that intensity is moderate, or it is moderated, Pitta can have the cultivation of this deep emotional satisfaction and have harmonious relationships with minimal amount of stuff. It's not over, it's not under, it's not too much, it's not too little. And then the Kapha types, again, Kapha really loves pleasure. Kapha seeks as much comfort as possible, but at the risk of becoming overly attached to those indulgences. And that leads to the stagnation, to the weight gain, to addiction to substances outside of self. And again, the stimulating activities, lighter diets, regular exercise prevent the overindulgence and help to maintain vitality. So Kaphas also can enjoy life's pleasures without compromising their health. It's all about moderation. And when we have Dharma, Artha, and Kama in balance, Moksha, the goal of life, to know thyself. Our body is ready, our mind is ready, our spirit is ready to go into a higher state of existence, a higher state of consciousness, to dwell in consciousness itself. Vata has a natural inclination towards spirituality, but struggles with being grounded and struggles with the consistency in the practice. So that's where they need help. They need the daily routines. Fantastic. Pitta kind of approaches spirituality with an intensity and an ambition, but maybe gets frustrated if they don't achieve their goals in the projected timeline they think they should achieve their goals. Again, cooling the Pitta down, creating balance, and really desire to overcome ego-driven pursuits. That way, Pitta can attain a spiritual clarity. If it's done out of ego purposes, it won't work. It never works. And for a Kapha has the capacity for bhakti, for deep devotion, spiritually grounded, physically grounded, but may struggle with inertia or attachment to the material world. And, there's a saying, God, give me liberation, but wait a few minutes. I'm enjoying. No, enjoy, of course, and know the self. So this is the dosha-specific guidance through the Purusharthas. And from Ayurveda and these goals of life, we can create a support system for the realization of all of these in a balanced and a harmonious manner. Very briefly, Jyotish, Vedic astrology, also supports this. When we look at the Vedic astrology chart, it's actually designed for the support of the Purusharthas. There's 12 houses, and each of the Purusharthas governs 3 houses. The Dharma houses are the 1st, 5th, and 9th house. And these houses illustrate our life path, our personal truth, our creativity, and higher knowledge. The Artha, the wealth houses, are the 2nd, 6th, and 10th house, which are representative of our finances that we have, our work, career, and service. The Kama houses are the 3rd, 7th, and 11th house, representing our relationships and the way we communicate and our desires and ambitions. Then finally, the Moksha houses are 4, 8, and 12, which represent the depth of our emotional capacity, our transformation, and ultimately our transcendence. And when different planets are placed in these houses, it shows the areas of life that are activated and what our soul's focus or motivations may be for this incarnation. And also, as planets transit and visit the houses, there may be more energy towards one of those 4 goals of life at that time. And likewise, in the Vedic astrology, it says that each of the zodiac signs is also ruled by one of the Purusharthas in a cyclical order. The Dharma signs are ultimately the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Then the Artha signs, the material wealth, are the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Whereas the Kama signs are the air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And then the Moksha signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So it gets a little more intricate here because based on which houses and which signs are paired and what planets are there, it creates a whole framework of who we are. We can look at Vedic astrology to understand our proper pursuits of the four goals of life as well, and which periods of time in our life we should be pursuing one over the other more intelligently or with greater focus and discipline. So ultimately, the Purusharthas, the Vedic sciences of yoga, Jyotish, Ayurveda, Tantra, together, it forms a comprehensive framework for achieving health, happiness, success on every level, and spiritual fulfillment in this life. When we integrate these timeless principles, we can lead a balanced life that respects the material needs and our spiritual aspirations. And it's so important because our world is increasingly disconnected from its roots, from the wisdom of life, from the wisdom of Ayurveda. And when Dharma is at a decline, it's so important that we can embrace this in our lives and do it. And we can be a beacon of light, and we can together guide humanity towards a purpose and towards harmony. This ancient wisdom is more profoundly relevant now than ever before. We need to consider how we're living our life through the lens of the Purusharthas, and the wisdom of these paths gives us a roadmap, a framework to be successful in every level of life, with purpose, with harmony, with liberation. I encourage you to listen, maybe re-listen to this, consider these concepts, consider how we can more deeply embrace these concepts and share them. If you found value in today's talk, please share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your community. And I really encourage you, share feedback, leave comments, share your experience of life, share your experience of the Purusharthas and how you may be engaged in one more than the other. What's working for you? What's not working for you? When we share our thoughts, this is how we grow, we learn. I don't think I know everything. I'm a student. When you share, it helps me. When we all share, then we help each other, and we can learn and grow together as one family, united in a single purpose of love and harmony. Until the next time, walk in balance, walk in peace, fill your heart with love, express it in everything you do. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste.